we find what's right for our customer. And often it's competing with ourselves. You can buy from me or buy from me. Rather than white labeling our voice product because it's missing a specific feature that the customer demands to have, we will act as an agent for any carrier that has the right product for that customer and sell them that service and take a commission rather than take ownership.
Welcome back to another installment of the Next Gen Case Study Series. On today's episode, we have Robert Shubow, who is the president of Big Water Tech, an AI services firm that provides comprehensive technology solutions, including managed services, cybersecurity, and cloud solutions. Since co-founding the company in 2010, Robert has played a critical role in ensuring clients benefit from seamless IT management, helping businesses navigate the complexities of modern technology with a team-focused approach. His leadership reflects a commitment to customer success and fostering a family-like company culture, which I've had the pleasure of already experiencing before we started the show. Robert, welcome to the program.
Thanks, and please call me Bob.
Bob, it's a pleasure to have this conversation with you. I have it here that Big Water Tech was kind of co-founded back in 2010, but it had much earlier roots. Can you give us a quick little background on where you came from?
If you remember the Great Recession, and different than, and often different than the rest of the world, Detroit gets hit much harder with bad times than most other communities. We could talk about those reasons, but it doesn't really matter. So one day during that, we had lost approximately 35% of our customers, and so had a lot of other businesses in the Detroit area. And a merger took place of, one could call it a merger of equals. My partner is more data centric than I am. I'm just a businessman. I'm not a technocrat. I've been selling technology since 1974 to businesses in and around, 2-hour drive of where I'm sitting right now, and which covers from like Toledo to Flint to Western Michigan as well. Large area. Used to cover Windsor more often, but it's hard to drive a truck back and forth across the border. They want to charge duty on the stuff that's in your truck both ways, coming and going.
Well, isn't that like the government always have their hand in your pocket?
We may ship some parts to a customer in Windsor, but then someone will drive their car over there to physically install them. It's just a lot easier. But nonetheless, as a result of that, I said 1974, June 24th was my first day in that business. Unfortunately, not my first career. I'm older than that. And the bottom line is that then the most sophisticated piece of technology in just about any business at that time was their PBX, their phone system. That nobody had computers. Nobody had laptops. Nobody had handheld devices. Nobody had PBAs. Nobody had any of those things. And It was an analog world for the vast majority of even the telephony products that were sold. So the transition from analog to digital to IP and beyond now has been something that, at least you always have to learn new stuff. Things continue to change. It's a difficult thing to keep up with, but everyone, salespeople, as the products that we sold became less a physical product and more just software, everyone has to continue to take classes. Every employee takes classes every month to improve our skills and our ability to deal with our customers' needs that are, much like the rest of the world, ever changing. So like our MSP set of things is about 19 components, and our secure managed service, where we're really truly managing their voice, their data, and all of their activities. There's 19 different pieces of hardware and software that come in that package that we really don't even discuss with customers because it's none of their business. We manage the service. That's what we provide is the package. What's in the package, make it work, is being like telling somebody the recipe of the donut that they're about to buy. Right. It doesn't really matter. They all have flour and sugar in them, but they're not all the same. And
Yeah, so it sounds like over your tenure there with Big Water and even some of your earlier experiences kind of lended to you having this unique opportunity to be able to refine your messaging and really make it clear for the end user. Like as you kind of mentioned, I don't need to know all the gizmos and gadgets inside my phone. I just need to know that it works when I dial a phone number or when I get on the browser. So, can you talk to some of that evolution and how you have played a role in that?
Well, I came to being a principal in this company and the founder of at least half of the company that is now merged into the Big Water Technology family. That it wasn't doing anything other than simplifying their life and explaining to people not how it works internally, but the benefits to them. We're in a service business. If we can't provide you with the proper service that you need, you'll go somewhere else. So customer satisfaction has always been at the top of the list of what we do. We joke about a lot of things. We'll do anything for our customers. We'll paint your building. We want $185 an hour for our techs, but if you want them to paint your building, I'm going to have to bribe them. But we can probably work it out.
Hmm.
Um, but it is really true. And because of the uniqueness of our background and the products and services that we have provided, um, number one, I'm not wearing a Panasonic shirt today because they don't make phone systems anymore. But we were the number one Panasonic dealer in the Midwest. We were the number one Telradio dealer in America. We were an award-winning NEC dealer. And I could go down the list of all those companies that we represented that don't exist anymore, or if they exist, they sell things other than what we would normally be selling for them. So almost everything we do now is of a nature of a white label, where we find our voice products for our customers, where we store their data. And I'm proud to say, because it is a service that we provide, on more than one occasion, we've moved all of the customers' data from one set of vaults, from to another without any knowledge or issues that the customer had and how things work. They still logged in the same way, but they were going different places. And that's the proof in the pudding when you can actually do that. And the customers know that you're working for their benefit and you're helping them and providing them services. And it makes so much more sense now. And the pandemic and all that other stuff that brought forth the demand for accelerating the move to where the world is today, where it wasn't 6 years ago, has benefited us. We have fewer employees. Used to be everything we sold was premise based. If a customer called, I had to put a man in a truck and drive them to the premises to do anything. We used to have 26 trucks on the road. We're down to half a dozen because there's nothing to drive out to. There's nothing there. It's all in the cloud. There aren't servers. There aren't phone systems. There may or may not even be phones. Might just be headsets, and they're talking as we are over their computer at all times as an app. I have the app on my phone. I carry my extension with me wherever I go, and can do conference calls and all that kind of stuff from here. It's not as much fun and it doesn't work as well, but it's doable. And certainly, I've joined Zoom meetings, in my car pulling off the road because I was an hour late, but I was still in the meeting, just with my phone, and or whatever other device I may have had. So the world continues to change, and as it does, addressing those customer needs currently, the demands that they have is best resolved with cloud-based products, software much more than hardware, fewer people. We have fewer employees. We have smaller sales and double the profits we had when we went out and installed shit in people. Excuse me, we're on the air. Installed the equipment in people's offices, and things work better for the people.
Right.
When they have a power failure in their office, when there's something wrong with a piece of equipment, it doesn't matter. All of every voice customer we have, all of their phone calls are simultaneously in like a half a dozen locations. And if one of them goes down, they're not even interrupted in their ability to communicate. So it works much better. And with people, most of our employees don't come into the office every day. They work from home, and they're happier, those who do it, than those who come to the office every day. My own daughter, who's our number one salesperson for the last decade or so, refuses to come back other than to refill her supplies. She's there about one day a week to get, paper and pens and ribbons and things,
Yeah,
whatever
the
she
stapler that her husband keeps stealing.
keeps shopping, right?
Yeah.
Just goes rummaging through the place and take what you need. But it's it does provide additional hours of time that
Mm,
people would spend in their car or doing whatever, that they can work, and they can do work on their own schedule. And for certain people, sales in particular is a good example. Nobody really cares when you sign the order. It's
as long as
pretty.
it gets signed.
Well, you did this at 8 o'clock at night. Oh, good, good. Or 7 in the morning. Well, that's wonderful. Or 2 in the afternoon. Who cares? The getting it done is all that really matters. And again, accommodating the customer's needs, and that's what we're all about.
Yeah, you've had this really unique opportunity to kind of help shape that and be a part of it, and nobody really knows that it's happening in the background. So, Bob, just so I have a better understanding of kind of the scope here, what sort of revenue is Big Water like? What sort of revenue milestones has Big Water reached?
Okay. Well, again, as a small businessman, I'm more concerned about how much money we make than what our gross sales are.
Hmm.
We could have a lot more gross sales and not make any money, but that wouldn't serve our needs nor our customers' needs nearly as well as
Right.
making money with fewer customers. So we're somewhere between $4 and $5 million in sales.
Okay.
We have shot for $5 million for a few years. A couple of years ago, pre-pandemic, I think we ended up at 4,995, and I was stupid not to just submit a phony contract myself, but I didn't have the final numbers till after the year was over.
Right, right. It's too little, too late. It's a day late and a buck short.
So, well, it does change, when filling out surveys, whatever it is, but talking to people, 1 to 5 is something. 5 and over, you move into a different category in the eyes of a lot of people, but we don't really care. Our customer base goes from one guy with one extension and maybe not even a phone to companies with offices and equipment that we've sold them in 6 continents, because that's who we are. We have a broad range of services. We've always been a carrier agent. And now, because of how that's changed, literally for any carrier that exists, we find what's right for our customer. And often it's competing with ourselves. You can buy from me or buy from me, rather than white labeling our voice product because it's missing a specific feature that the customer demand to have. We will act as an agent for any carrier that has the right product for that customer and sell them that service and take a commission rather than take ownership.
So, Bob, where do you think in terms of like your customer experience map, where do you think the biggest successes come from? Because I know going from, 0 to 100K is one thing, but going from 1 to 5 million is a totally different beast. And so there's something that you're doing right. And I'm curious to know what that is.
Literally decades, lots of decades. Our
Right.
sales have been in the millions since actually our second year in existence, some 40 some years ago. And where do the successes come from? Again, I have my own opinion and studied this amongst a lot of people because I've been primarily involved in sales,
Hmm.
and most of my careers that I've been involved in. The ability to explain very complicated things to people in language that they seem to understand, which is a gift. It's something that I've tried to teach a lot of people that they've failed miserably in learning. So couldn't have been the teacher, but because one has to have sales are a very interesting thing, and I'm not going to divert that conversation too much. But there are natural born salespeople. There are people that know how to talk to people, how to answer questions, how to earn people's trust. And that is one thing that I do teach everyone is how you get people to trust you. And it's not all that difficult, but I don't know who's listening to this. Maybe I should be charging for this. Um, but the easiest, simplest way to get people to trust you, it's human nature. You can go to any psychology class at any college, they'll agree with the following statement. If you trust somebody first, whether it's within intimacy, a story, some parts of your life that you've experienced that they don't usually hear from other people, they are compelled internally, subliminally, to trust you back. And as long as you don't, mistrust their trust to you, as long as you're honest with them and right straight with them, and they know that you're on their side, you can't get rid of them. They don't want to talk to anybody else. It's happened to me twice, actually, in this building that we're in here, where I've fired two people, one at a time, who refused to leave because they didn't want to work anywhere else. And the first time I was a salesperson, I said, all right, but no commission, no salary, just straight commissions. And 6 weeks later, I got rid of them anyways. But the second time it happened, I was fully prepared and just walked that person outside and said goodbye without a conversation.
That's that good old fashioned family environment that you've created that people just crave, I think, in this current economy.
Well, every day, whether there were 50 people working here or 10 or 12 as there are now in the office on a daily basis, I walk around and say good morning to everyone. If I leave first, I say good night to everyone. We treat people like people. And that's both for our customers and our employees, and it benefits because they really do care for the customer, for their jobs, for their coworkers, because we lead by example.
Right.
So you take care of people, they want to take care of you. They have a need to respond. And my older brother, who isn't with us anymore, used to. We spent a lot of time together. Shared a room for about a decade or so when we were young, but and he never forgave our parents for moving me into quote unquote his room. He was almost 5 years older than me. So, anyways, but I would always be in the position the way I treated people and said hello to people and smiled at people and talked to people, that people would do favors for me. And whatever it would, isn't that big deals, could you? And of course they could, because, here's the nice guy. We take care of nice guys, right? And he would, when those events occurred, he would slap me on the back of my head and say to the person, yeah, that's what this world needs. Somebody else to treat my brother like he's something special. But the truth of the matter is that I know it's true because I'm old enough to have enough experiences that I bought a convertible toy car this summer, drive around it, 15 years old, just a toy, as it were. I do that every now and then. And so I go to the Secretary of State's office. You have a Secretary of State's office where you hang out, where you get your plates and your license and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody likes going there, do they?
No.
The lines are too long. The clerks are irritable and underpaid. And it's universal, I think, in all states that the Secretary of State's office is not a friendly place. So I'm there with my paperwork and a bill of sale and all that other stuff. And I'm waiting in line for whatever unreasonable amount of time. And in this particular office, they have like 5 clerks. So they call up 5 people at a time to go up to the clerks. They wait until all 5 clerks are free, then 5 more people come up. And I walk up to a woman who, if you look at her face, you knew she was not having the day that she intended it to be when she woke up this morning. And that's how I made some jokes and I cheered her up and everything. And talked to her about the car because I was excited about it. It's a very cute car. And the color. And so, I don't know again in California, but in Michigan, you have a choice of literally 75 different plate designs that you can choose from. Okay. Some you charge extra for, some are, just plain, etc. So when it's all done, and I say to the woman, as we had a nice conversation, so what do you want? And I said, I want you to go pick me a winner. Go, whatever it is. Thank you. So she comes back, and my license plate on that car is 3 capital E's and 3 number 7s. EEE 777. Okay. And people ask me, well, what does it mean? You must have paid extra for that. It means I was just nice to a lady. She went and
Right.
found me. Yeah. And she picked a color. I told her to describe the car. It was black car with tan leather interior. So I have a black and tan one.
It matches the car. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And why did she do it? Well, I didn't ask her. I gave her, and going back to what I started with, I trusted her.
Mm.
People don't betray trust when strangers trust them. They go out of their way. She spent her 15 minutes in the back finding me triple E 777.
In a color that matches the car, which is
Color that
remarkable.
matches the car. At no additional cost. I didn't pay the premium. They aren't vanity. Well, they are vanity plates to me, but they're not vanity plates because I didn't pay for them to be vanity plates. And it wasn't that I'm scamming anybody, just the opposite. Just being who I am. I decided at a young age I wanted to be in a world surrounded by people who smile. So I
Mm.
go out of my way wherever I am to make people smile selfishly. It's all
Right.
about making me happy. It has nothing to do with them. They're the beneficiaries of my selfishness. When I walk a little old lady across the street, or the other day at the grocery store, turns out the woman was a year younger than me, but she had a case of Pepsi at the bottom of her cart. So I was, may I? And I pick it up and I put it on the counter for her. And then we come into a conversation, only to discover that she was literally about a year and 3 months younger than me. But it was no effort for me to do it. But, and then you have a conversation and they walk out smiling because someone did them a favor
Mm.
of no consequence to me, other than it makes me feel good about being me. So out of my selfishness, others benefit. And I'm really happy with that.
Yeah. It's surprising to people when somebody treats them nicely and and
Absolutely.
and they react to it in a way that's also in kind, right? If you go the extra mile to take a little bit of effort, it doesn't take much, as you've kind of pointed at, Bob. It's just a little bit of kindness, and it goes so far for people. And I can see how that has lended to your success. And there's this
Well, I didn't have a
gravity that I
choice.
think that
I was a very precocious young person that everyone expected great things of. So I
right.
haven't reached the goals that I set for myself, but I've settled. I'm,
Well, running a near $5 million company is nothing to shake a stick at, Bob. So I can definitely say that
well,
something connected, something worked for you. But let's
I
just shift gears here a little bit. And I'm
Oh, you
wondering,
have more questions.
yeah,
And
yeah, I'm wondering,
you didn't realize that the verbosity that I was going to bring to this meeting, but it's not going to change either.
right, right, right. I've come to accept that also. So I'm
You can leave 3/4 of it on the editing room floor. I'm sure that that'll be appropriate.
yeah, I'll leave that task to my editing guy. He'll handle that part. But so Bob, if we kind of look forward at the future for Big Water, um, I know that you're probably not going to be there forever, but that you have maybe some goals for it. I'm wondering if maybe we can explore what that might look like.
Good question. It's really difficult to come up with goals when you're dealing in an industry who changes itself every 6 months.
Mm,
And now we don't do that anymore. We do this now and we do that now.
hmm
But the goals are to be successful, to be profitable, but we've changed from a company that when we hit 4,900,000 whatever thousand, most of that was selling things to people. And now more than 50% of our revenue shows up on the 1st and the 15th from the services that we provide. So if you needed voice services, sign up for 3 years. We just give you the phones. We give you the stuff you need on your desk and all of that. And we get paid back at so many dollars per employee per month. And the goal, people that do what I do, I belong to committees and meetings, organizations and stuff. where peer groups where we talk about such things. It used to be if you could get $100 a month per employee and just give them everything, it'd be their phone bill, be their data bill, be their all the bills, you'd be fine. Now it's getting closer to $250 a month per employee to provide all of those services, and primarily because of all of the criminals in this world. Our data stack is not inexpensive at all, and it's worth it. And how much money would a guy who could get wiped out of his business pay to ensure that that doesn't happen? Well, those who understand the risks involved in running a business these days pay pretty well. And we don't brag about our successes or lack of data breaches because no one is exempt. We don't promise people that they'll never been breached. None of our customers have ever been breached in a serious manner. But my daughter, who was, you know what BNI is? Business Networking International.
Yes. Yeah.
So she was the president of her local chapter and is on the national board and the other thing. And they were having a meeting. This was all people who sell stuff all over the country. There were 20 different companies represented in the room. And the question was asked, how many people here have never been hacked? You want to pick a number?
Oh, out of the 20 people who have never been hacked, I'm going to say...
No, out of the 20 people, how many of them were never hacked? Personally or business-wise?
I don't think I'd be able to count on one hand.
None. Everyone had been hacked.
Wowzers.
Either personally knew credit card because somebody was doing fraud, this, that, or the other thing. There wasn't a person or a company in the room that hadn't been hacked to some degree or another.
Mm-hmm.
How many of them went out of business is the real issue, because we can't prevent the world from being filled with people who want to steal your information and companies who just fucking give it away. Oh, I did it again. Hey, editor, call the editor.
Shout out the editor.
We'll change that to frigging right now, right?
Yeah. This AI could do that, I'm sure.
I'm sure he could. So, but it's the ability to ensure that the important stuff is secure, and it's harder and harder each year to be able to provide that for our customers. But you should never believe anybody who says, well, well, you'll never get hacked with me. Yeah, okay, next. Because
that sounds like an empty promise.
He obviously knows nothing about what he's talking about. We'll move on to the next guy. Oh, you'll only get hacked a little from us. Oh, we're getting better. But it's a reality. And so our company goal, to have every single company pay us per employee per month on the 1st or the 15th of every month by a credit card. We've gone from 0 to 50% of our revenue coming in that way. There's enough revenue coming in every month that the business is self-sustaining. You have to get new customers because people die and people move and blah, blah, blah. But there's enough revenue coming in every month. The bills are paid every month. Mm-hmm. Employees are paid every month with the revenue that comes in the door from the work we've done in the past. And keeping those people is difficult for most people because they don't have the attitude, that the customer's always right, even when they're wrong.
I'm with you there, Bob.
Whisper that part. So I brought back from a vacation once an urn, handmade house, the big cork in the top of it. Mm-hmm. And it was written in the top, etched in like with a finger, and before they baked it, and glazed it or whatever. Herein lies the ashes of evil customers. And I brought that and gave it as a gift to my customer service department.
That's great.
See, and that is the thing. Who cares if they're wrong? They're the customer. Just take care of their damn problem. Right. We can go out for a drink later on and laugh about how stupid they are, but not when we're handling their needs.
Right. It's better to have that conversation than to have no conversation at all.
Absolutely. It's just, okay. Well, look at it. I've killed your whole afternoon. Go ahead. Keep going. You must have another question I'll make up an answer for.
Actually, Bob, I just got one more. This has
Oh,
been great.
wow.
You've been very generous with your wisdom and your time, and I'm very grateful for that. So, in closing, if we could, I wonder if you could, just because you have such a wide breadth of knowledge and experience here, if there's somebody who's out there who's trying to build something for themselves, starting up a company, or maybe in a executive position, facing some difficult challenges, what advice would you offer them to help them overcome those challenges and find success for themselves?
If they can't find it on their own, they better go get a mentor.
Hmm.
I was fortunate. I was raised by immigrant families that, I'm first generation American. I started working in family businesses literally at 5 years old. I didn't get any of that money until I was in my late teens, but I did get to see the savings account that my earnings were in at that point. And I was taught lessons that at such an early age that have stayed with me that most people never ever learn. So I was raised to be an entrepreneur. My father was one of nine. My mother was one of seven. Some of the sisters had a fondness for husbands, so I had many more than 16 uncles and aunts. There was like 30 of them wandering around. I learned at an early age. So your favorite uncle divorces your father's sister. Is he still your uncle?
That's complicated,
If
Bob.
he's your favorite, you're damn straight he's still your uncle.
Yeah.
So, but I had a breadth of knowledge, and I was given opportunities that most people don't have. But I was able to do them because I was taught, and not just taught sitting down and being taught, but through osmosis, through observation, for seeing how people are treated, for dealing with customers, and we could do this. Fortunately for me, unfortunately for the people that have to listen to me, I could wax on this one for several days. Just I need a little more water to drink, but that's about it.
Fair enough.
But the bottom line is, everybody needs help. Everybody has to find someone, a Yoda, to teach them, because you can't do it without knowledge, and you can't acquire the knowledge just sitting around talking to your employees. You have to be in peer groups. You have to find people who you respect. You have to. When I first started in telecommunications, AT&T was the world leader in the. We could talk about them, but I won't, because who gives a shit anymore. So moving along, but my wife was a librarian. Her mother was a librarian. Her sister was the librarian for the Library of Congress in Washington, and yeah, it was a family kind of thing. We have nephews who are librarians now, one in Washington as well. So I got information. I gathered all the information that those women could find for me, and I knew more about AT&T than most of their employees, and who started. And you remember the word Centrex? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Do you know what Centrex was? It
I don't.
was cloud-based voice using before the cloud was invented. AT&T
Okay,
really
okay.
invented all of that, but it was in America. But they didn't invent it originally. It was originally invented by a company called Siemens, who ran the German telecommunications industry. And it was invented on a demand in 1933 from Hitler, so
Goodness.
that he could pick up his phone and dial three numbers and talk to any fucking general or anybody else he wanted to in his government.
Who would have thought?
Well, nobody would have thought it. I found it. I found
Right.
the information.
That's
And
crazy.
so when, for example, I'll give you examples. So when selling to a synagogue against Centrex, anything that was built for Hitler, Jews don't want.
Fair enough.
And I speak from experience in that regard. But so, knowledge is power.
Mm.
And if you know more than other people, AT&T and Michigan Bell and all those companies were regulated utilities. All of their charges were governed by tariffs controlled by the Public Service Commissions. And every tariff in the state of Michigan anyways, but I could go beyond, but has a paragraph in it that says, it doesn't matter what your contract says. You will be billed according to the numbers on this tariff. And any changes we make in the tariff will raise or lower your bill, and there's nothing you can do about it. We are a regulated utility. We serve at the government's permission. They make the changes. We just bill you. So I memorized the stupid tariffs. I would bring them into people, and they say, "Well, it's only no, it's not. It's not $200 a month. That's the starting price." And then I would show them in writing the tariff that said those words, and so I would win.
Right.
And I represented them. I was the number one Centrix agent for a 5-state region for what was then known as Ameritech when AT&T was broken up in 1984. And I served 8 years of a 2-year term on their dealer council, and had to lecture these people from AT&T that you have all the customers. All you can do is lose customers. You can't get any more than all the customers. You already have them all. So prepare to lose customers. That's what's going to happen. And I convinced them, because it was a contract thing, monthly services, not selling, renting,
Mm-hmm.
that the only way that you could guarantee by doing this without violating antitrust stuff is I got them to go up to, in this 5-state region around here in the Midwest, 10-year contracts. And I would sell them to people on the basis, and my salespeople and others learn to go to a businessman and say, I can fix your fixed cost for the next 10 years. The price will not go up, not one penny. Sign here. And businessmen loved it. To know they fixed it for 10 years. Now, what they didn't know is that the costs were falling at 20% a year over those 10 years. But at the time that was like knowing secrets that only the people in the business could even begin to forecast it. But
Right.
it was obvious to some of us that was the trend. But it was still, people thanked us for locking their costs for 10 years and wondered why none of their other vendors were willing to do the same.
Wow.
There was no such thing as a 10-year contract when I started on the dealer council. And we got around tariffs by making them guaranteed automatic renewals.
Mm.
It was a 3 or 5-year contract, but without doing anything other than saying, yeah, we're keeping it, we made it to 10 years. So, it's understanding what people's needs and wants are,
Mm-hmm.
and how people think. I'm not a psychologist, but I perhaps could have been one, because sales is always about psychology. It's about getting inside of people's heads and finding a warm, comfortable place, and they want you to stay there, and they'll never leave you. And you can't fire. I've fired only a couple of customers, and one in particular who's now retired, but he's still a friend. He was an insult. The whole family was bad people. I can't mention their names because who knows who might hear this, but they knew it, and one worse than the next. And so he always was insulting to me, but okay. I met him as a salesperson. And it's okay, because I don't really care. Give me your money. Insult me.
you can call me whatever you want as long
I
as
know
you
the
sign
truth.
the check.
You don't know the truth. I know the truth. Okay. But he insulted on one too many occasions one of my employees.
Mm.
And I insisted that he apologize. It's rather arrogant unit. And his controller calls me and says, he doesn't apologize for anything to anyone ever. We've never ever heard him apologize. Okay, his choice. I'm done. And we'll move on. You go find someone else. And his brother and his father begged me, you got to take us back. I said, okay, but only if he makes a public apology. And they were very skeptical, but he did. And this is a number of years ago already. And whenever I was in their business, visiting him, his brother, his father, or staff members, whatever it was, because they were a fairly large customer, big business, billion-dollar business kind of, very arrogant people. The employees would treat me like I was, again, something special. how did you get him to apologize? We've never heard such a thing out of his mouth.
So this is how Bob, you became a legend.
Folk hero. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
in many ways. But that's just, again, I got a few more minutes, but you don't. But I'll give you one other aside. On the same token, we had a guy who was still, he's retired, but he still hangs around and we see him every night. Art Beaver. And he was born with a misshapen arm. It was, I don't know what it's called, but one arm just never got together.
He didn't get enough juice or something.
Just whatever, and it was shriveled, and he, sort of held it to his side at all times. And I get a call one day on a job that some superintendent laid a hand on one of our employees. Now, I'm stupid because I have no business trying to bully anyone around and everything. But that older brother of mine taught me that getting your nose broke or your lip split doesn't kill you, because he used to beat the shit out of me all the time. And so I learned that with bullies, the best thing to do is if you stand up to them and say, yeah, you want it? Let's go. They back down a little because they're not accustomed to people smaller than they are look to be less of a threat to say, let's do it. Okay, let's go.
Call him the bluff.
Well, what the fuck does he know that I don't know?
Yeah,
So
I would question that.
And I walked up to him, and he wasn't a physical specimen any larger than I was, probably smaller. And I went up to him and said, so you want to push people around? Okay. I got two arms. He only has one. Let's go. Okay. And defending the employee in position. And no, of course, he backed off. He wasn't going to fight anybody who could present a threat to him.
Yeah.
And people don't know, confidence is a really good thing, not just in selling and all kinds of other things, but it works very good when people are challenged physically. If you're really confident, so we can sing Broadway songs now if you'd like. It's appropriate. I don't know if you know this. I believe it's from the Flower Drum song. Maybe it's from South Pacific. I don't know. It's an old song. But it goes, whenever I feel afraid, I whistle a happy tune. The happiness in my tune convinces me that I'm not afraid. And there's more. If you would like.
I remember this song.
This deception is very plain to see, because when I fool the people I fear, I fool myself as well. Not afraid. So that was sung by a young Asian woman in the original performance. But it's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's who you are. It's who you want to be, And I'm convinced that people want to be evil and be asses and all of that, really desire to be that person. I don't know why. It's not the person I want to be, not the kind of people I want to be around. Right. But it's real. So we could quote George Carlin. You know George Carlin, the dearly departed George Carlin?
Yes, sir.
Perhaps the greatest practitioner of his art, of his time, who said, so let's say you're having a conversation with an average guy with 100 IQ, and you sit and you talk to him for a while, and then you get up and you walk away and you say to yourself, what a fucking idiot. Okay. But that's not the problem. The problem is half the world is dumber than he. This is the problem we have. But if you communicate honestly with people, regardless of their IQ, and especially that, and being nice to people that aren't accustomed to having people be nice to them, the world's just a better place.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't convince everyone to do that, but I try really hard.
Well, Bob, some people just want to see the world burn. That's just the way it is. Listen, this has been absolutely thrilling. I am so glad that we were able
All right. So when should we switch? Because I'm thinking at this point in my time, I should be doing podcasts.
Right. Listen.
I think I would be really good at it.
Yeah, we might be able to make arrangements for that to happen. Bob, but this has been great. I appreciate the wisdom and insight that you've shared on the show. And to close things out here, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you to pick your brain or perhaps work with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
My cell phone, 248-935-0655. And I know it's being recorded because you didn't pick up a pen.
So we'll make sure to link to all of that stuff in the show notes so that people who want to get in touch with you can get in touch with you easily. And on that note, if you want to reach out to me and my team for your marketing or AI needs, you can visit nextgengrowth.com. Otherwise, that's it for this episode. Thanks for joining us for this conversation, and I will see you in the next.